India, the awakening giant. Striving for international recognition and power. Led by Hindu nationalist Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The country is covered in slogans from his marketing machine. Rising India is the government's guiding principle.
We are a nuclear power, we are a space power, but India wants to become an economic power.
Growth has made business leaders optimistic.
India is the place to be.
And the country's billionaires are rejoicing.
There's no doubt that India's time has come.
There is a growing investment, growing belief that India will become the next China.
But some economic experts are not so sure.
I say that the boom is a dangerous myth.
But it could become an absolute disaster. It could become a time bomb.
India's hype is false.
India is the place to be. India is the place to be.
And we will.
There is a growing investment, growing belief that India will become the next China.
India is the place to be.
A time bomb. A time bomb.
India's time has come.
India is nearly as large as the European Union, and Bangalore in the south of the country boasts a new international airport known as the Garden Terminal. Where countries' dreams are displayed, as is its craving for international recognition demonstrated by a recent moon landing. Another 80 airports are planned. Bangalore is known as India's Silicon Valley. The population of 14 million is growing by 500,000 per year. Numerous national and international technology companies call the city's large industrial parks home. Sindhu Gungadarun is the managing director of SAP Labs India, a local unit of the German software company.
Today, India is one of the fastest growing market regions for SAP. Very happy to drive India's growth story as the managing director of Labs India.
Gungadarun has a visitor from Germany today.
Good morning, everybody.
The talk is about globalization, in line with SAP India's plans.
We have a very special guest with us.
Gungadarun worked in the headquarters in Walldorf, Germany, for 18 years. Now she manages around 17,000 employees in her home country.
Digitization is really going across the length and the breadth of the country, something which wouldn't have been possible 10 years back. This notion of India for coming here and looking at low-cost labor as the only, it's completely out of the window, right? Today it's about how are we leveraging the talent and the skills and the market, the ecosystem to drive innovations from here for the world.
We're on our way to a meeting at Siemens. Traffic jams are common in India's cities. A short trip becomes a major test of patience. Governments are working for change. Prime Minister Modi hopes a $1.4 trillion infrastructure stimulus package will help him realize his vision of an economically competitive India. Construction sites are now strewn throughout the country. New subway infrastructure, new highways, new bridges, new rail lines, and of course, the 80 new airports. Germany's Siemens has hit the jackpot in India. The government ordered 1,200 electric locomotives. Price tag? €3 billion. And subsidiary Siemens Healthineers is also expanding. The company is investing in a centre for medical technology and innovation, which is expected to create up to 1,800 additional jobs.
India needs to have additional 2.4 million hospital beds. There are not enough doctors or hospitals. I think this is a big challenge for us. If you look at the need for talent, while we have a great talent that is available, we still need to have more engagement that needs to happen between academia and industry and government and startup. When I look at it from the Western country, the engagement with the universities is at a very high level. The same thing needs to happen here.
Dilip Mongsuli is also dreaming of worldwide success.
Government provides some incentives for building these technology base from here and exporting the technology out of India. We do get some incentives.
The government's infrastructure investment isn't enough. Prime Minister Modi has also earmarked $25 billion to support certain industrial sectors. Despite all the excitement, Western trade with India is still relatively modest, and Germany is no exception.
India isn't one of Germany's top 20 trading partners. The trade volume between Germany and India is around 30 billion euros, a tenth that of China. And German firms invest about 5 times as much in China as they do in India.
This extends to the entire EU. China is the EU's second most important trading partner, just behind the US. India, on the other hand, ranks only 10th in EU foreign trade. The chances of filling the trade vacuum are good because the subcontinent has an extra card up its sleeve. It surpassed China as the world's most populous country in 2023 and now has more than 1.4 billion people. India also has one of the world's largest working age populations, around 970 million people, a figure expected to surpass 1 billion in the next 4 years.
The current geopolitical situation is also playing into India's hands. Western countries, the US and Europe need new partners at the international level because of the conflict with China and the war in Ukraine. India is being courted by both sides, Russia and the West.
Industrial billionaire Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw founded Biocon, one of India's largest pharmaceutical tech giants. She welcomes us into her home. She often accompanies Indian politicians on trips abroad.
I'm very proud of the fact that India basically represents 30% of global generics. And I think in biosimilars, we hope to do the same. And so if you look at it, we are very significant contributors to global health, of reaching drugs and important medicines to patients across the planet.
Biocon has made an international name for itself with diabetes and cancer drugs. In Bangalore, the company develops biosimilars, which are generic versions of biopharmaceuticals.
Today, India does cater to several markets, whether it's Asia, Latin America, parts of Africa, Middle East, and of course, the more advanced parts of the world like US and Europe. And given the kind of scale of the industry that we have here today, I think it only gives us that opportunity to grow bigger.
The Hindu monkey god Hanuman represents courage and strength, virtues that India hopes to project in its digitalization. Business leaders say this applies to everyone in the country. Every Indian has a digital ID card that they can use for everything from doctor's appointments to death certificates. Even street vendors accept digital payments via cell phone.
All these things are designed for creating an inclusive society. So yes, it's a very important thing and I'm very happy to have played a role in it.
Fellow billionaire Nandan Nilekani wants to digitalize healthcare too. Infosys is one of India's biggest IT companies and had annual revenue over $18 billion in 2023. It employs 317,000.
India is being increasingly recognized as an emerging great country which is going to play a much bigger role in world affairs.
India's hype is false. India's hype is false.
India is rising.
Hey, there is something happening in India.
But some critics question such optimism.
The power of narratives. Once you tell a story, others tell the same story. And then others repeat that story, and it comes back. And then the story becomes the reality. I think within India, that is very much what is happening. They all meet each other at G7 meetings, at OECD, and they all talk about the same language, and after a while they begin to believe it. India is doing well, India is a vibrant democracy. Go to India, see what India is like.
Jayuti Ghosh is a professor at New Delhi's Jawaharlal Nehru University. She specializes in globalization, the global economy and development.
We are still a very small proportion of global GDP. We are only 2% of world trade. And we are still relatively a poor country. We are a low middle income country. Most of our population has standards of living that are similar to those in sub-Saharan Africa and the poorer countries of Latin America. So it would be misplaced to see us as a world power in the sense that, we are also internally very equitable and strong and so on.
The country slums in the heart of New Delhi back up her assertions. Poverty has declined, but 230 million Indians are still considered extremely poor. Economics professor Ashoka Modi teaches at Princeton University in the United States. He was previously an economist at the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. His analysis of India's economy dates back to the country's development immediately after it gained independence from Britain in 1947.
I take a view that India is broken for three reasons. One, that the Indian economy has failed for 75 years to provide dignified jobs to the vast bulk of its people. Number two, It has failed to provide what I call essential public goods: mass education, public health, livable cities, clean air, clean water. And number 3, I believe that the norms that underpin a democratic society have been eroding all these years and may well be broken.
Is he right? Or is India breaking free from its colonial shackles and standing on its own? Government members could not be interviewed, but a former Indian ambassador agreed to speak with us.
I believe that India, which is currently the voice of the global south, means at least 125, 130 countries put a faith in India, that it will become a de facto voice as a nations for strategic autonomy. The West today is also looking at a situation that is China, rise of China, especially for the United States, because Chinese, which are the second largest economy, is looking to displace United States, at least economically and technologically. So the strategic autonomy is that we should be able to choose what we want to do with which country for what. Prime Minister Modi calls it as mix and match foreign policy also. Now Modi is, I would say, is very clear in his mind. India first, perfectly fine. Make in India for the world.
Back in India's Silicon Valley, Zetwork is perhaps the country's most successful startup. CEO Amrit Acharya says the company's strategy is made in India, but for the world.
The world needs a second or a third or a fourth alternative.
The 36-year-old executive is presenting the company's most recent results.
I think it's the highest ever that we have done in any given month.
Since 6 years back has grown probably 1,000 times. But at the same time, 50% of that comes from cross-border, whether it is making in India and exporting to the US or exporting to Europe.
February target was to do 6
Zetwork's growth seems to be continuing.
Stellar performance. Moving on to the next.
COVID, which was a big disruption to our business, to economies in general. But it presented us with a very unique opportunity which feels very generational. Because of what happened during COVID, a lot of global companies are shifting supply chains to India. They used to previously order from China or other countries, and we are seeing a very once-in-a-generational shift today.
Acharya saw an opportunity for his country and took it. He matched up small companies in the US, then in Europe, with Indian suppliers, creating new supply chains.
Aerospace and defense is a emerging category, which can become a big category over time.
Bangalore's nascent Silicon Valley is near the airport. New businesses sprout up like weeds. India is still manufacturing too little. Factories from all industries are needed to support new supply chains. Manufacturing is replacing agriculture. Acharya is now focusing on aerospace suppliers for India's arms industry. He is increasingly acquiring small companies to operate under the Zetwork umbrella. Pinaka, for example. The factory has just been completed and is ready to start production.
We started from a single table and chair.
Aerospace engineer Radhika Pusomati founded Pinaka and is now a managing director of Zetwork.
So almost to the tune of 200 plus components we have indigenized. And now we don't have any dependency on any source from abroad for carrying out this MRO. So that's the reason we are able to turn around 1 engine per month, which was earlier taking almost about 10 months per engine. We can turn it around in 1 month with all the gaskets, the seals, and all the other plugs, the spark plugs. Everything has been indigenized in India, in Bangalore. We have Make in India. In Mirage, we have Make in India for the British systems of Jaguar. And we also are now going for the Russian fleet, Make in India.
Studying, emulating, and improving on Western technologies is a tried and true strategy. China did it, now India wants to as well.
It is a vision of our Prime Minister, basically, to make everything within the country. Now, with that kind of impetus that is given to the industry, there are also some lists called positive indigenization list that have been issued in the last 10 years, where those particular products are not to be imported. They have to be made in India.
Can India be a substitute for China in an economic sense? No, not in my lifetime, not in my children's lifetime. Why do I say that? It's very simple. Today, China is going through very intense trouble. So I'm not going to deny that. The real estate problems are very severe. The problems in the financial sector are very severe. But what does China have that India does not have? And that is human capital. In 1981, when China became a member of the World Bank, it was clear that this is a country that is going to make a rapid progress. The first World Bank report was amazed the quality of primary education, the gender equality. Mao Zedong used the phrase, "Women hold up half the sky." Women are an active part of the Chinese workforce.
India is growing between 6 and 7% economically per year, significantly faster than China.
Our growth rates are supposedly the highest in the world, but turns out it's not a real increase in employment. It's mainly due to the expansion of unpaid workers in family enterprises, mostly women. So if you're not paid, you shouldn't be calling that employment. 37% of women who are described as employed are actually not paid. In this economy, the proportion of women above 15 years who has got paid employment is 13%. Can you imagine that? That's Saudi Arabia levels, right? Our pattern of growth, it's not just that it has generated inequality, it's been based on inequality.
Chinese universities in mathematics and computer science are the best in the world. Better than Stanford and MIT, better than almost every European university. China is at the frontier of electric vehicles. China is at the frontier of renewable energy, solar panels, and is going to make huge strides in artificial intelligence. In a wide range of fields, Chinese are making strides in science, in technology, at a pace that is going to contest the entire Western world. India is not in that league. It's not even close to that league.
A new bypass is being built in a New Delhi suburb. The workers are migrants within their own country. They come from rural areas to support India's development. Every day is a struggle. The free school under the bridge is adjacent to the construction site. Most students come from India's most underprivileged backgrounds. Children of labourers, farmers, migrant workers and rickshaw pullers. Lessons begin with the national anthem. Rajesh Kumar Sharma, a grocery store owner, founded the school in 2010. All the teachers are volunteers. Prime Minister Modi has been in power since 2014.
We have a young growing population. We have to spend at least 6% of GDP on education. At the moment, it's 3%.
Only 15% of Indian children are functionally literate for a competitive global economy. The number in China is 85%.
The free school under the bridge is an extreme case. The world's most expensive private home stands at the other extreme, illustrating the huge gap between rich and poor in India. This tower in Mumbai has 27 floors, the first 3 of which house the luxury cars of its owner, industrialist Mukesh Ambani. He is chair of the Reliance Industries oil and media conglomerate, the richest man in Asia, and very close to Prime Minister Modi. One 1% of the Indian population owns around 40% of the country's wealth, the highest discrepancy since 1961. The wealth gap is higher here than in South Africa, Brazil, or the United States. At the same time, India is growing faster than any other major economy.
How can you get GDP growing at this crazy rate without an increase in employment? And it's really because that growth has been so unequal. It's been concentrated in the top 10% of the population. That's still a lot of people, right? 120, 140 million people. That's a lot of demand still. But it's not enough to generate jobs for all of the rest.
Zetwork is celebrating its rise on its roof terrace in Bangalore. CEO Amrit Raj is recognizing employees for their efforts. All educated at top universities. They are a minority in India. Hitaishi Kathari is one of them.
For us, it's all very rewarding here that whatever we do, we can see that impact being created in the success story of the company, and that's rewarding for me.
The 29-year-old is responsible for the company's finances and left her home state of Rajasthan to take up the job at Zetwork. India's Silicon Valley is booming and drawing more and more young people from all over the country.
I'll introduce my family to you. That's my sister-in-law. She's Bhavna. And that's my husband. He's Ravi. And that's beautiful lady is my grandmother.
Most middle-class households in India also have help.
So yeah, that's mine and my husband's room. You'll see a lot of pictures here. And this one's from my marriage last year. So my father, he was working with the biggest insurance company in India. It's Life Insurance Corporation of India. Mm-hmm. My mother, she was a homemaker, and recently she's got a cord struck with yoga. She's a yoga instructor now. We're just 2 siblings, and this is the 3rd one. Sydney, my pet dog. So we're 3 of us.
Kathari's sister-in-law Varna works at the Indian office of international consulting firm Ernst & Young. Her husband Ravi works for an investment firm that uses government funding to finance startups.
So that was the idea of Mr. Modi, to bring a lot of investments in India from foreign players.
Yes, so I am very, very proud of my country with the recent developments that have been happening in the country. So as you know, Bangalore is the startup hub, and it is growing tremendously, and definitely that is going to not only increase the economy of the country, but it is going to leave a global impact, is what I believe.
So definitely India is going to be a superpower. So government has set all the parameters that by 2047 we should be equal to, if not better than, all those developed countries which are there. They have a roadmap.
The government continues to set goals, like the roadmap to 2047, the 100th anniversary of independence from Britain. India hopes to then be an economic superpower. There is still much to do. The new expressway north of New Delhi. After 70 kilometres near Meerut, India's economic boom ends. And suddenly, the old India reappears. Meerut is a city of just under 2 million in the most populous state of Uttar Pradesh, with 250 million people. All kinds of training is available, but it's not very good. And even after training, the economy offers few jobs. A bitter reality for young adults like 31-year-old Monu Chowdhury. He has an IT degree but no job.
I studied and dreamed of working in IT after graduating. I wanted to work for a multinational company.
Instead of working as an IT engineer, he repairs laptops in his father's shop alongside his older brother, who cannot find a job either.
Some companies from Bangalore came to recruit graduates for internships. But out of my group of 200, only 7 or 8 were selected. And only the best who had passed with 90% or more.
The family is the sole support for Monu and his brothers. They all live together in this apartment. Besides the repair shop, their father also runs a small taxi company. The whole family lives off his income. Father, mother, Monu, his 4 brothers, and his older brother's wife. The elder Chowdhury is now also paying to have Monu retrained. He wants to be a yoga teacher for tourists in the Himalayas. He's studying hard for his exam.
I paid for my children's education with the profits from my 2 businesses. The youngest is still studying business administration. Monu's school, university, and now training, that's 10 to 12 years, where I pay a lakh just for him every year. That's about 1,100 euros.
Modi should look after all Indians. The rich are well provided for. They live like kings. But we belong to the middle class and nobody cares about us.
Her daughter-in-law complains that her parents had to pay a lot for her many studies.
After school, I trained as a physical therapist, then did 2 master's degrees, one in English and one in education. Then I studied law, and now I'm doing my doctorate. I tried to get a government job, but it was no use.
How can so many degrees be worth so little? India's second largest working population could be a blessing if the country's economic boom generated enough jobs for everyone and education was better.
The problem with Modi is that there are not enough jobs. He should think about the young. They're so discouraged that they want to commit suicide.
Our education system is still flawed and inadequate, but we have more and more young people who have chosen to undertake tertiary education. 90% of that is privatized because we did not expand our public institutions enough. So these are young people who have spent their own money, taken loans, families have sold land, sold assets to get these people through some kind of college or other professional education. So we are having about 20, 30 million of these coming into the workforce every year, and there are no jobs. Unfortunately, now we know our economy is not generating jobs for our people, and especially the young people. So that demographic dividend could become an absolute disaster. It could become a time bomb, creating all kinds of social, political unrest and unpleasantness.
The economic upturn has had little effect on most Indians. Mornu Chowdhury is far from becoming a middle-class consumer. However, Kathari belongs to the 10% who can afford luxuries like a modern kitchen from Hairfiller, a German brand. Frank Schlöder is going to the largest Hairfiller warehouse near Mumbai.
I hope, yeah, that must be the right entrance, no?
He wants to inspect the latest shipment. Of the 10,000 kitchen components, half still come from China, a statistic unpopular with the Indian government.
India is very dependent on China for many imported products. India hasn't been able to reduce this dependency simply because China produces so well and so cheaply.
Cabinet hinges, for example.
Now they are taking a harder line and have introduced product certification. Ultimately, this means an import ban, affecting more and more products. It started with the toy industry, which blocked all imports from China overnight. Now it's gradually reaching our industry too.
Foreign companies face the common hurdles of bureaucracy, tariffs and other government barriers.
Corruption is another major problem in India. If we look at Transparency International's corruption indices, India ranks near the bottom. The caste system in India doesn't help economic development. The younger generation also face high unemployment and a lack of opportunities. Something has to change, or else social and religious conflicts could become more problematic down the road.
I use the word dangerous hype. I will use the word dangerous again for what the Western leadership is doing, because it's painting a romantic picture of India which is at complete odds with the reality. And therefore it is giving India and Indian leadership permission, indeed encouragement, to continue to do what they are doing. And that, I think, is bad both for the economy and for Indian democracy. In the end, the damage to the democracy may be worse than to the economy.
Companies like Renault, Siemens, SAP and Herfele see things completely differently.
If India manages to take advantage of the momentum and attract companies, the economy could really take off.
That hasn't happened yet. Some companies like Apple have moved part of their supply chains from China to India, but iPhones are still mainly assembled there, with many components still coming from China. Filming is not allowed in the new Apple factory. According to the Indian government, Apple has now created 120,000 jobs.
We celebrate every little drop that comes. We make a big noise about it, saying, oh, Apple is creating a factory. It's one of many Apple factories, and it's a relatively small one compared to the global Apple operations.
After direct foreign investment fell by more than 40% in 2023, inflows of over $50 billion are now being reported again.
See, it is a long way to go because the dream is very big. Right? If the dream is small, then we are there. But the dream is large, and hence we can't take things for granted. We have to work hard at it, and I think we'll find success.
India is the place to be.
And we will. India wants to become an economy.
India is rising.
India will become the next.
India's hype is false.
But it could become an absolute disaster. But it could become an absolute disaster.
India is rising.
Hey, there is something happening. Hey, there is something happening in India.